Hello, my name is Paul Marsh, and welcome to episode 9 of How to Write a Bot using the Microsoft Bot Framework. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to add a little bit of UI spice to the mix. And we're going to do that by first looking at something called suggested actions. So let's have a look at the samples. And there is a sample called suggested actions, which is very nice. And here we can see quite a clean little application, little sample here, and all it's going to do is going to send an activity with some suggested actions. That's fine, and I would encourage you to look at this sample. The problem is it doesn't really explain what's going on. This is sort of given to you as a matter of fact. This is what you need to do. So what I plan to do is try and take you through a kind of journey to get here. So in order to do that, let's open up our Maybot. So the first thing I'm going to say, and this is a recommendation that's not just about developing the bot, is when you have a new feature or you have a new piece of technology that you want to try, I would recommend you don't try and shoehorn it into one of our existing dialogues, because as your logic gets more and more complicated and you're trying to try out something new, you don't want all that noise, and you can never be sure whether your existing code is causing the new code to break, and etc. So what I recommend you do is you create a little sort of play area, what I call a scratch dialog. So I'm going to copy an existing dialog, because fortunately our current dialog is quite simple, so I can just steal most of this. And we're going to rename this scratch dialog. Scratch dialog. Okay, so into our scratch dialog, and we know that this is going to go wrong, so let's update it. Scratch dialog, change the constructor. We'll keep this the same. We don't particularly need to, but we will. Don't need to be responding to positive steps. We just want a nice prompt and a response, something very simple. So we can get rid of that. Shall I expand on that? I'll just say, please type something. And we say if they type in anything other than quit, so it's not quit, then just say you said the result. Put that in there. And we're going to say looping. So otherwise we could say finished. Right, okay, so it's a very simple interface. Let's just, oh, hang on, need to call it. So into the Maybot itself. So the first thing we need to do is add to the dialog set. So let's just give it the name of scratch dialog. Create the scratch dialog. And then we're just going to short circuit this. So we'll just do an early return, so we don't use any of the rest of our code again, so it can be laser focused on just doing this little scratch demo. There won't be anything else getting in our way. Just steal this code to launch a dialog, and it's going to be scratch dialog, and we're not passing in anything, so that's fine. So let's run this. Type in hi. Please type something. Hello. You said hello, and we're looping again. Good. You said good, looping, quit, finished. Right, so it's a very simple UI that we've grown accustomed to, just a sort of question prompt and then the answer, and we process that answer. So what we'd like to do is give the user a way of being able to, rather than type an answer, but just quickly select an answer. And you might see this in sort of common IM messenger apps, where you can just quickly hit a reply, hit a response rather than typing it in. So that's what we're going to try and do with suggested actions. So let's go back to our little scratch pad and start adding some things. So the activity is where everything is sort of homed in on, and this is where we need to add our suggested action. So we've got something called suggested actions, a nice property. That's great. What is a suggested action? It's not a string. It is type suggested actions. Okay, right. So equals new suggested actions. That's fine. This takes in a list, or can take in a list of actions. That's what we want. So actions. Don't do that to me, Visual Studio. So let's just create that. So a list of card action, suggested actions equals new list. Okay, so we want to add one of these things. So we can add, let's just call that card actions. I don't like it. Suggested actions. So we want to add something that's going to be a card action quite reasonably. So var suggestion equals new card action. Okay, and we're going to add one of those, whatever that is. We can add one of those, and then we can add the list of suggested actions to our activity. So, was it better? So that's all that needs to be done, but we've got nothing in this card action. So what does this do? Right, okay, so this is where things get a bit more interesting. So as the comment says here, our action type can be possibly open URL, can be an IM back, post back, play audio, play video, show images, download files, calls, payments, lots of things. And there is a little helper here, so I'll let you in on the secret of that, called action types. And then you can choose one of these things. And in the examples, they are pretty much always IM backs. So we'll start with that. And then we'll add a little title. So it wants to be something that the user wouldn't normally type in. So let's just say some text from the title, just to make it nice and large. And then, okay, let's add a piece of text. Actually, I haven't said. Broken my own rules there. I need to say title. And then some text. I'll just put some text. And then, oh, look, we've got a value. So we'll say, okay, a value. Oh, and we've got display text as well. So put in display text. Just call it display text. Why not? Makes it nice and easy. Display text. So we've got some text, some display text, a value, and a title. So that's all good. Let's see what happens. So we'll start the loop again. So please type something. And now we've got this little prompt. So if you click that, what happens? You said a value and looping. And we've got a value. Hang on, that's interesting. So we've got a value coming out, and you said a value, but what you clicked on was some text from the title. So let's go back and look at that. So that means that the title here is the thing that's presented to the user. The text just disappeared, was seemingly no use at all. The display text seemingly disappeared, was no use at all. And then we had a value. So we've got a nice kind of name, a title, descriptive title, and then the actual value of pressing the button. So that all sounds good. So let's just double check that that still works. Now we've cut that down. Come back in here again. Let's go through the loop. So So we click the button, some text from the title. That is putting a value in there. The bot knows that you've clicked a value. It says you set a value and looping again, and we're back here with that title, with the suggested action. So that's working okay. That seems fine. So let's have a little look at what the differences between IM back and post back is. Let's just start with that. So let's switch this to post back and rerun example. Again, another reason why you want to keep this nice and tight, this code, because you can just easily, quickly rerun it, try things out, experiment. So let's go around this again. So we said hi, just type in something now, we click here. You said a value looping, so it's the same, right? But it isn't. If you notice, very subtle difference here is in the transcript. When I clicked on some text, it's not putting that to the user. Whereas with IM back, when we clicked some text for title, the value of a value was put into the transcript and also sent. So in this case, we don't see it in here, and then it's sent. So you're thinking, well, what's the point of that? I'll try and describe what the point is. So value is an object, right? So let's put the value 19 in there, just for the sake of it. Let's switch this back to IM back. Let's run that. So when you press some text from the title, we're going to get the value 19 sent to the bot, right? So let's go around here again. Let's click this. Oh, nothing happened. Nothing happened. So in reality, whilst this claims to be an object, it really only works with strings. At least in this setup where you're just sending a title and the suggested action back, which is kind of weird, right? Now, okay, so we can easily get around that, right, by just making that a string, making that 19, you know, no harm, no foul. But the point is that it's really handy, this being an object, because what you can do is you can add a lot more interesting information about the button press. So when this is just turned into 19 as a piece of text, the bot has no way of understanding whether the user has typed number 19 or whether they clicked a button that represented the number 19. So you can do additional things to make this more useful. So let's just take any old object. So we've got a question state object, right? So let's just do bar some object equals new question state object, and we'll just pump that with some value, some intent, right? And then we're going to convert that into a string, right? So we're just going to go JSON convert, add JSON Newtonsoft, good old Newtonsoft. We're going to serialize that and say some object in there. Okay, so we're on the IM back, remember, so let's press that. And let's go through this. So go through the loop again. We get our some text from title. We click that now, and we are sent, we receive a big chunk of JSON, which is great because then our bot can now know pretty well that the user hasn't just sat there and typed in a load of JSON, right? They know, you can know that they've pressed that button because you can expect that object. You deserialize a value, and the value is of that type object, and off you go. Problem is this is hideously ugly, right? You've just clicked that, and you immediately get this in your transcript. That's really not what you want. So we can come back here and we can switch that back to postback, and then everything is nice. So let's just start that loop again. We click the text. So hi, that was the original prompt. We click that. There's no record of us clicking that, but now the bot's responded to our click, sort of invisibly internally, and dealt with the fact that it was an object sent. Now the obvious problem with this, I mean, it's great, right? I mean, most of the bots that I've seen written end up being written like this because it's quite important to understand that a button's been pressed as opposed to just typing in, or often can be. The downside, obviously, is you lose this piece of transcript. What I've seen people do is, especially in web chat controls, again, probably can only really do this in web chat controls, is you can use a bit of JavaScript and inject, on a button press, inject the text back in there, but that's probably a tale for another day. But anyway, you have those two choices, right? So you can either gain more control from the bot's point of view, or you can give the user just exactly what they typed in the history. I should add that, you know, the whole point of the bot is you can just type some text from the title and you should get the same kind of logic as when you pressed some text from the title. So you should always bear that in mind, right? That the point of your processing of the bot is this is just a shorthand to help the user, not necessarily you should be using it as a way of functionally differentiating between someone saying something, someone typing something, or someone pressing something. Those should, in theory, be all equivalent. So just for the purists out there, I'll just make that point. Right, okay. So we know we can do this sort of stuff, so let's get rid of this now. Let's just put in something very simple. So we'll just put a string in, and we know we like strings. The object just doesn't seem to work. So just say something is a value. Okay, well that's great, right? So let's put something a bit more useful in here, in fact. So we know we can do this list stuff. Let's just make this a little bit tidier. So we know it's a list of card actions. We know the card action we want. So we don't need all of this. So that is equivalent code. And now I want to say that this is, please enter a direction. And then here we can say something like travel north. And then we can put north. And then we could put travel south. We could put south in there. So let's just see what that does. Hi, please a direction. Come on, Paul. So you can click travel north. It says you said north, travel south. You said south, right? So that's pretty easy. That's quite good, isn't it? You can have as many of these as you want. You can sort of see that this enables you to have a kind of little mini menu, if you like. Oh, don't say menu. I don't like menus with bots, but that's basically what's happening, right? You can have some little quick action you can choose from here. Right. So let's just correct that. Please choose. No. Please enter a direction. Again, not choose. It's not a menu. It's not a menu. Please enter a direction. Right. Okay. So can we make this a little bit more interesting? Well, we certainly can. So the way we do that is by using something called a hero card. Now the hero card, again, you can see the samples in the hero cards, and they're great samples, but again, I want to try and introduce it as sort of traveling to the hero card rather than just presenting you it. So hero cards are a type of attachment. So we can come in here and we can say, let's add some attachments. So what is attachment? It's a list of attachments, okay? So let's just say attachments. Let's go and create that. So we want a list of attachments. Good, all good. So everything's good. So now we want to do the same, exactly the same process, right? So we just want to add an attachment now. So add our hero attachment. And then the hero attachment is bar equals new attachment. So that's all really easy and everything's going to work. So let's just have a look at what the attachment looks like. It's got a content type, content URL, some content, a name and a thumbnail. Is that it? That doesn't look like much of a UI thing, and that's because it isn't. So what we actually need is something called a hero card. So here we are, I have a hero card, and this is our hero card. Okay, a new one of these things. Right, okay, now this looks a little bit more interesting. We've got a title here, so we could have colours, I'm spelling it UK styly, and breaking my own rules again, put a title, colours, and buttons. We want a list of card actions, that's helpful. So we'll just call it card actions for now. And we can pretty much steal these. So it's the same sort of thing again. Given these are colours, let's say a lovely red. Say red, and then a rich blue, quite blue, and better call it a different name. Card actions. Okay, so we've got colours, and here. Okay, so that's looking good. For a hero card, but we want an attachment. I don't want to add hero cards. How do I do that? Well, this is where there's a little bit of sneaky magic occurs. So actually there's an extension that allows you to go from a hero card to an attachment in one nice little extension. So what do we have here? Let's have a look at what this gives us. So back in our bot, back into the loop. Okay, so we got please enter a direction. Okay, title doesn't work quite as well now. But now we have two choices. So we've got a card in here, which is colours. We can add some colours in here. And then we got our directions as suggested actions. So I can click a lovely red for a colour. You said red. I can click travel south. You said south, and it's all repeating. So that's nice, isn't it? It's a nice little interface. Got a choice. Kind of, this is inline buttons, and this is sort of the thing that hovers along the bottom. Is there any real difference between these two? Well, okay, I'll try and show you sort of the pragmatic differences. So let's just grab some temporary value here, and we'll call this second equals date time dot now dot second, and we'll add this to the title. Oops, we won't if we do that. Okay, so put second in there, and we'll just put second in there, and then for the directions, do the same thing. So directions are suggested actions, the colours are the card. So let's try that again. Enter a direction or colour. There we go. There we go, Americans. You can spell colour like that as well. go back around the loop again. So this time we've got a little bit of a number. Ooh, and then we've made a mistake. Let's correct that. Haven't put the little squiggles. Right, okay, that looks a lot better. Try that again. So let's just go around that. So a lovely red 25 will travel north 25. So I can click that and it will say north 25. Click lovely red 31. We get lovely red 31. That's great. Now, one thing you might notice, or you might already know, is that suggested actions, it's the last suggested action wins. So if you imagine you had 10 waterfall steps and we go all the way through without prompting, but each of those waterfall steps would say, this is suggestion 1, this is suggestion 2, this is suggestion 3, this is suggestion 4, then the one right at the end would be the only one displayed here. All the other ones would just be thrown away. Whereas with the card actions, they are preserved. They will show up in the transcript all the way back. So as you can see here, my only option is to select Travel North 35, which corresponds to the hero card of red 35. But in the transcript, all our old hero cards are still there, whereas none of the old suggested actions are. So I can come back here, so we're on 35 here. Let me choose a lovely red 52. And you said, oh my, have I made a mistake there as well? Oh no, that's because it was old. Okay, it actually did preserve the whole lot. Let's just start that demo again. So let's come in here and say hi. So we got, 56, how handy. So we click 56 here. You said 56, now we're on 0. If I go back now and choose lovely red 56, it said you said red 56 looping. And now we're on 8. I could still go back there and click 56 again. 56, or I could go back here and choose lovely red 0. You get the idea, right? So the hero cards exist in the transcript and are actionable throughout the transcript, whereas the suggested action is only available as a last, or the current, if you like, think of it that way, activity. So that's a sort of important difference between the two. So I think, does that about wrap it up? I think we've learned that we can use the hero cards and they're very similar to suggested actions in the way they work. We know that there's a difference between postback and IM back in the way that you get your feedback in the transcript from after you've pressed it. And yeah, let's just do that one. I don't think we demoed that on the buttons, so let's just demo that on the buttons. In fact, let's keep one. I'll keep one as postback and one as IM back. So let's just go through that loop again. So if I click the lovely red 31, you see red 31 is sent as part of the transcript. Whereas if I select a rich blue is sent to the bot, but you don't see it in the transcript. So again, difference between IM back and post back. So I think that's probably about it. The next sequence of things, or the additional UI features we got, is we can do more with the hero cards. So we can have what's termed a carousel of hero cards. So it allows you to see them more than one hero card side by side, and you can scroll horizontally through them if you're on the web chat control, or other controls will do the same. And then the more rich solution is the adaptive cards, and I think we'll do that in a separate tutorial because that's quite a large topic. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it's been useful. If you want to comment or subscribe, please do so. If you want to leave a comment about what else you might want to learn, then also please let me know. Thanks.